Finn's deadly DNA secret exposed. Is he the father of Hope's baby? In the spangling yet pressure-filled world of the bold and the beautiful, Los Angeles no way truly sleeps, especially not when a secret important enough to shatter families is on the verge of exploding. The drama ignites at Forrester Creations, where whispers trip briskly than couture sketches, and this time the scuttlebutt is more dangerous than any commercial preemption. Dr. John Finn Finnegan, long regarded as the steady moral compass of the youngish generation, finds himself at the center of a storm he no way saw coming. Finn, devoted hubby to Steffy Forrester and admired croaker, has erected his life on integrity, but when a routine medical train triggers a chain response of dubitation, everything he allowed was certain begins to unravel. The train in question belongs to Hope Logan, whose recent emotional helical and mysterious medical movables have formerly raised eyebrows across the Logan and Forrester families. Hope has been surprisingly guarded, indeed distancing herself from her mama, Brooke Logan, who senses that her son is carrying further than just stress from her complicated romantic history. When Brooke confronts Hope in the Logan living room, the air is thick with implied trueness. Hope's pulsing hands and gash-filled eyes tell a story she's too hysterical to state. She eventually confesses she's pregnant, but insists the situation is complicated. The timeline doesn't add up fairly, and that's where the true stunner detonates. Weeks before, during a chaotic medical exigency at the Precipice House, Finn had rushed to help Hope after she collapsed during a heated argument about her future with Liam. In the emotional fate lines blurred. Hope was vulnerable, Finn was compassionate, and a moment of comfort entwined into commodity neither of them completely reused. Both buried the memory, persuading themselves it was an emotional misstep stylish forgotten. But biology doesn't forget. As Hope still orders a maternity test, her worst fear begins to solidify the date's lap in a way that points not to Liam, not to any revivified history love, but to Finn. The disclosure remains sealed in an envelope sitting in a lab hole, until fate intervenes. A lab technician, fading the high-profile names involved, cautions the sanitarium's executive board about an implicit conflict of interest. Suddenly, Finn is summoned to an unrestricted door meeting, where he's presented with primary DNA findings. The results are inconclusive at first regard, but the labels suggest a 99.9% probability that he's the natural father of Hope's future child. Finn's world collapses in silence. His marriage to Steffy has survived blow-ups, hijackings, and the chaotic shadow of Sheila Carter, his own natural mama whose history of manipulation still haunts them. He promised Steffy translucency, no secrets, no falsehoods. Yet then he stands holding evidence of a treason that could destroy her. Meanwhile, Steffy senses commodity is wrong. She notices Finn's distant aspect, his restless nights, and the way he avoids eye contact whenever Hope's name shells in discussion. At Forrester Creations, Steffy clashes with Hope over a fashion line decision, but beneath the professional contest simmers a far more particular pressure neither woman completely understands yet. When Steffy latterly overhears Brooke defying Finn in the sanitarium corridor, demanding to know if the rumors are true, the pieces click into place with ruinous clarity. The battle that follows is explosive. Steffy storms into Finn's office, her voice shaking with fury and heartache. She demands the verity, and Finn, unfit to continue the facade, confesses the possibility. He insists it was a single, emotionally charged mistake, nothing further, but the damage is done. Steffy's pain morphs into icy resoluteness. She reminds Finn that trust isn't a renewable resource, however. It means he crossed a line not just with another woman but with a Logan, if he's the father of Hope's baby. And in the long-standing battle between Logans and Forresters, that treason cuts deeper than any romantic solecism. Word spreads snappily through Los Angeles society. Rich Forrester confronts Finn with subdued fury, advising him that if he hurts Steffy again, there will be consequences. Meanwhile, Hope wrestles with guilt and fear, knowing that her own emotional fragility may have touched off a domino effect she can't control. As the final DNA results are reused, the pressure heights. Brooke stands by her son, determined to cover her from public demotion, while Steffy contemplates whether remission is indeed possible. Finn, caught between responsibility and guilt, prepares himself for whatever the verity will confirm. When the sanctioned report is eventually opened in a private meeting attended by Finn, Hope, Steffy, and Brooke, the silence is suffocating. The document states unequivocally that Finn is indeed the natural father. Gasps echo in the room. Steffy's countenance fractures as she walks out without a word. Hope collapses into gashes, apologizing constantly, but justifications feel concave against the weight of treason. In the fate, alliances shift. Steffy moves out of the precipice house temporarily, taking time to decide her coming step. Finn vows to be present for the child, anyhow of the cost to his marriage. Hope faces counter-reaction from both families, indicted of destabilizing and formerly fragile peace. Indeed, Liam Spencer is drawn back into the chaos, scuffling with the reality that the child he assumed might be his is not. The plot forces every character to defy questions of fidelity, responsibility, and the complicated nature of remission. In true Cleaner Pieces fashion, the disclosure doesn't simply end connections, it transforms them. Steffy must decide whether love can survive such a fracture. Finn must attune his identity as a devoted hubby with his new part as Hope's child's father. And Hope must face the consequences of a moment that changed everything. As Los Angeles buzzes with gossip and Forrester Creations struggles to maintain its polished facade, the emotional stakes have no way been advanced. Finn's deadly DNA secret exposed isn't just about maternity, it's about the ripple effect of one impulsive decision in a world where family patrimonies are everything. With futures hanging in the balance and hearts shattered across the oil, the saga proves formally again why The Bold and the Beautiful remains a masterclass in high-stakes liar. And as observers brace for the coming twist, one question lingers in the air: can any of them ever truly go back to the way effects were? The fallout from the maternity disclosure on The Bold and the Beautiful doesn't simply ripple through Los Angeles, it detonates like a controlled implosion, collapsing connections that formerly sounded unbreakable. In the days following the evidence that Dr. John Finn Finnegan is the natural father of Hope Logan's future child, every corner of the Forrester and Logan worlds feels the shockwave. At the Precipice House, the formerly warm atmosphere has turned concave. The sound of children's horselaugh no longer echoes through the hallways because Steffy Forrester has temporarily dislocated with the kiddies to the Forrester estate, seeking comfort in familiarity and distance from the man who shattered her trust. She moves like someone performing on autopilot, strong in posture, but concave in spirit. Steffy has survived treason before, but this cut is uniquely particular. It isn't just infidelity, it's an endless bond between her hubby and her longtime rival, Hope Logan. Hope, meanwhile, becomes a reticent lightning rod. Tabloids bruit. Fashion interns gossip. The internet speculates hectically about timelines and moral shortcomings. At Forrester Creations, meetings grow tense whenever hope for the future is bandied. Some board members still question whether her presence will damage the brand. Brooke Logan, fiercely defensive of her son, confronts the subtle judgment head-on. Brooke Logan refuses to let history make up Hope as a villain. She argues that vulnerability and emotional confusion don't equate to vicious intent. But indeed, Brooke knows the optics are brutal. Her son, carrying the child of Steffy's hubby, reopens decades of Logan Forrester contest injuries that no way completely healed. Finn exists in a state of suspended reality. As a croaker, he understands responsibility. As a hubby, he understands guilt. But as a man caught between two important families, he understands the magnitude of the damage. He requests a temporary leave from the sanitarium to avoid allegations of impropriety or distraction. In private, he begins journaling commodity he formerly recommended to trauma cases, trying to reuse how one emotionally charged night entwined into lifelong consequences. He doesn't excuse himself. He doesn't condemn Hope. Rather, he renewals the night constantly, the gashes, the admissions, the closeness that crossed a line. He remembers persuading himself that compassion was inoffensive. Now he knows better. The emotional center shifts when Steffy agrees to meet Hope face to face. The hassle takes place in the quiet design office after hours, girdled by untreated sketches and fabric tapes, symbols of creation amid destruction. Steffy's voice is steady but laced with pain. She asks Hope one question: did you suppose about me? Hope's answer, an honest, pulsing "I wasn't allowing easily at all," offers no comfort. Steffy admits that what hurts utmost isn't just Finn's treason but Hope's silence subsequently. The months of participated board meetings, polite grins, and strategic collaborations now feel like performances erected on dishonesty. Hope tries to explain her fear, her confusion over the gestation timeline, her despair not to blow up multiple families without certainty. But to Steffy, secretiveness feels like strategy. The discussion ends not with screaming but with commodity worse, quiet futurity. At the Forrester manse, Rich Forrester struggles to balance fatherly protectiveness with measured restraint. He confronts Finn intimately, advising him that while he cannot undo what's been done, he can choose how he behaves moving forward. Rich makes it clear that if Finn intends to be part of this child's life, it must be done with translucency and respect. There will be no retired visits, no blurred boundaries. Finn agrees. He understands that any misstep now could bring him not only his marriage but his place within the extended family ecosystem. Also comes the unanticipated twist, one that adds another subcast of cerebral complexity. Sheila Carter, ever vigilant from the murk, learns about the maternity reproach. For Sheila, the disclosure is an occasion. She sees parallels between her own chaotic motherly history and the fragile situation Finn now faces. Sheila approaches him under the guise of empathy, claiming that she understands what it means to be judged for one mistake that defines your life. Finn, cautious but emotionally vulnerable, listens longer than he should. When Steffy discovers that Finn met with Sheila, indeed briefly, it ignites a secondary extremity. To Steffy, it signals regression. However, maybe he hasn't truly grasped the graveness of his conduct. If Finn is seeking comfort from the woman whose insecurity nearly destroyed them ahead, Hope's gestation progresses, bringing visible monuments of the secret that's no longer secret. Doctor's movables come logistical accommodations. Who attends? Who waits outdoors? Finn insists on being present, but he respects Steffy's boundaries by informing her beforehand. The maturity of his approach contrasts sprucely with the emotional chaos around him. Liam Spencer re-enters the route, torn between residual love for Hope and defensive instincts toward Steffy. Liam confronts Hope with that mixture of disappointment and compassion. He admits that part of him wishes the baby were his, not out of possessiveness, but because it would have been simpler. Hope doesn't argue. She knows simplicity is a luxury none of them have presently. As weeks pass, the plot evolves from shock to consequence. Steffy begins remedy, determined not to let bitterness define her. In one important session, she articulates her deepest fear that no matter what choice she makes, stay or leave, she will feel diminished. Her therapist challenges her to separate treason from identity. Meanwhile, Finn commits to couples comforting, indeed if Steffy eventually decides against conciliation. He wants to prove that responsibility isn't temporary. The birth approaches amid undetermined pressure. When Hope goes into early labor during a major Forrester event, irony strikes hard. The glamorous runway show pauses as Brooke receives the exigency call. Finn rushes to the sanitarium, torn but concentrated. Steffy, after a moment's vacillation, follows, not for Finn but for check. In the delivery room, feelings meet. Hope grips Finn's hand not as a nut but as the father of her child. Hours laterally, a baby girl enters the world, crying with fierce vitality. Finn's eyes fill with gashes as he holds his son for the first time. The reality is no longer theoretical. It's palpable, breathing, endless. Steffy watches from the doorway, absorbing the sight. Commodity shifts in her expression, not remission. Not yet but recognition. This child is innocent. The circumstances of her generality do'n't define her worth. Latterly, in a quiet hallway discussion, Steffy tells Finn that while she cannot promise conciliation, she'll not stand in the way of him being a father. It's a measured station that reflects growth rather than surrender. In the months that follow, co-parenting becomes the new battlefield and the new ground. Schedules are negotiated. Boundaries are clarified. Family gatherings are precisely orchestrated to minimize pressure. Unexpectedly, small moments of civility begin to replace outright hostility. Hope expresses gratefulness whenever Steffy shows consideration. Steffy acknowledges Hope's fidelity as a mama. The contest softens, not cancelled but progressed. The plot eventually transforms from reproach to elaboration. Finn learns that integrity isn't proven by perfection but by how one repairs damage. Hope learns that vulnerability without responsibility types chaos. Steffy learns that strength includes the courage to define her own limits. And Los Angeles society, ever empty for drama, gradationally shifts its attention away, though the emotional scars remain part of the characters' histories. Finn's deadly DNA secret exposed becomes further than a shocking caption. It becomes a contemplation on consequence, remission, and the changeable ways families expand and fracture. In classic Bold and the Beautiful fashion, the drama doesn't offer easy judgments, but it offers growth forged through fire. And as the camera pulls back on an amalgamated, complicated, a Miss Family geography, one verity stands clear: secrets may explode, but what rises from the debris depends entirely on the choices made after the blast. As the weeks turn into months in the ever-churning macrocosm of the Bold and the Beautiful, the emotional foreshocks of Finn's maternity disclosure begin reshaping lives in quieter, more endless ways. The reproach may have faded from tabloid covers, but inside the hearts of those involved, nothing has completely settled. The birth of Hope's son didn't end the fermentation, it converted it. What was formerly a secret affair is now a lifelong connection, sealed in the innocent features of a child who carries DNA from two rival dynasties. John Finn Finnegan finds himself living a disunited actuality. At the Precipice House, the air between him and Steffy Forrester is polite but conservative. They attend comforting regularly, and though their sessions are raw, they're honest. Steffy has not decided whether their marriage can survive, but she has decided that clarity matters more than pride. She refuses to live in denial. Finn, for his part, has committed to radical translucency, participating his schedule, openly agitating co-parenting plans with Hope Logan, and answering indeed the hardest questions without guard. Yet mending isn't direct. Some nights Steffy lies awake replaying images she cannot abolish. Hope and Finn together, the moment of treason, the DNA report that changed everything. Other nights she watches Finn asleep beside her and remembers the man who formerly saved her life, who held her steady through trauma, who fought to prove he was nothing like his natural mama, Sheila Carter. The irony isn't lost on her. Finn spent times distancing himself from Sheila's heritage of impulsive destruction, only to produce a fracture of his own. Across city, Hope adjusts to fatherhood under a microscope. The nursery is peaceful, painted in soft aquarelles, but outside its walls judgment lingers. Brooke Logan remains fiercely defensive, frequently reminding her son that miscalculations don't define a continuance. Still, Hope carries a heavy sense of responsibility. She knows that one moment of blurred boundaries created endless consequences for multiple families. Determined not to repeat patterns of secretiveness, she insists on structured co-parenting agreements. Everything is proved, bandied, and deliberate. There will be no retired visits, no emotional nebulosity. Suddenly, it's the child herself who begins softening hardened edges. When Steffy sees Finn holding the baby with gentle admiration, commodity complicated stirs inside her. Not covetousness, but grief for the simplicity they formerly had. During one precisely arranged visit, Steffy indeed holds the child. The baby's bitsy fritters coil around hers artificially, ignorant of contest, ignorant of history. In that quiet moment, Steffy recognizes a verity she cannot deny: the child is innocent. The wrathfulness she feels toward Hope and Finn cannot extend to this life. Meanwhile, pressure at Forrester Creations continues to poach beneath professional countenance. Board meetings feel like chess matches, every regard loaded with subtext. Rich Forrester keeps conversations rigorously business, unintentional to let particular drama undermine the company's stability. But whispers persist among workers. The hope for the unborn line faces renewed scrutiny, not because of design quality, but because of public perception. Hope insists on earning credibility through performance, pouring her energy into bold new collections that reflect adaptability and reinvention. Brewing over all of its Sheila Carter, watching patiently from the fringe. Sheila interprets Finn's fractured marriage as vulnerability, and vulnerability as occasion. She begins planting subtle seeds. Anonymous dispatches suggesting that Steffy will no way truly forgive him, that Hope will always represent untreated emotional business. Finn recognizes the manipulation snappily this time. Rather of hiding Sheila's attempts, he tells Steffy incontinently. The honesty, however painful, earns a small measure of restored trust. For the first time since the reproach broke, Steffy sees substantiation that Finn is learning, not just apologizing. The dynamic between Hope and Steffy evolves in surprising ways. Their relations remain formal, but less hostile. In one vital scene, they find themselves alone at a charity event serving Children's Health Enterprise. The irony is palpable. Hope thanks Steffy for allowing Finn harmonious involvement in the baby's life. Steffy